It's a great honor for me to be here with you all today and speak with you here at Cambridge University in the UK. And what a wonderful lineup of speakers we've had so far, yes? I'm Dr. Gary Woolman, PhD, presentation coach, and speaker's mentor. And I've devoted my life to freeing our communication, our full expressiveness through the instrument of our body. Not our phones, not our technical devices. It's an inside job. This is where it all begins. My message to you is in transforming your message with your body and voice in such a way that your inner self-talk, your relationship to your body, to your message, to your messaging, and to your audience is totally transformed. That's my promise to you today. In the next 20 minutes, I'll be showing you proprietary tools I've developed over 5 decades to have you be able to leave here with an enhanced ability to speak from your greatest authenticity, your innermost core, as never before. Are you ready for this? Yes. That sounds like a yes to me. Let's move forward. As we begin to give you a number of different stories here today, to give you tangible, physical, measurable, multi-sensorial ways of being able to communicate. Watch when you leave here today, listen, feel how you're able to leave with increased abilities to perceive and to express yourself through your body as the chief instrument of communication. Story number 1. I was in Washington, D.C. at a National Speakers Association convention. And there was a woman who was going up on stage during the lunch break who was a nurse in Vietnam. She was going to deliver about the horrible blood and gore and guts that she had experienced live. She heard that I worked with some of the top speakers in that organization. And she turned to me and said, I can't do this. I'm going to fall apart on stage. I gave her the following tool. It's called the double extreme. I'm going to have you demonstrate it with me so we can all visceralize it and embody it for yourselves as well. The exercise, now we're going to use this statement out loud to say these words, please, after me, as though you didn't mean it. Monty Pythoning, exaggerating everything that was wrong. Nervousness, all the fear of being rejected, not being seen that she was feeling. So the words were, it's easy for me to reach you with my message, as though you don't believe it. She did this, and you can do it with me. Those of you who are watching on the video, I encourage you in karaoke style to practice along and to watch this video over and over so you can break free from holding back your mage and sage inside your cage, ready for a new stage. So she said, as though she didn't mean it, it's easy for me to reach you with my message. Exaggerating, giving her permission to do what she was afraid to do. That brought her to a whole different place, like coming out of a skid. You go through the skid. Then I asked her to do what I'm going to ask you to do. Place, either physically or metaphorically, your right hand at the base of your spine, if you can reach it, wherever you are. That's right. And now, instead of trying to impress people out there, sending the message down and in instead of up and out, as though you were, which you are, your worst critic and best audience. The words are, it's easy for me to reach you with my message, as though it were a lance of heartfelt intention through the base of the spine, where your hand is, towards the center of the molten earth. Let's go for it, everyone. It's safe for me to reach you with my message. Do you notice the difference? It settles down deep in the base of your spine, in your pelvic basin, the seat of the emotions. So you speak with an authenticity coming from that place. She did that, and she wasn't afraid on stage. She could deliver the most horrible things in the lightest way because she was standing a new ground, a new stand of command in her land. Let's move on to another example. I was visiting New Zealand. I had just started to move to that part of the world, and there was a man, an international speaker, who was also a hypnotist, and he invited me to see a group in a very similar stage like this one we're in today, in this beautiful auditorium. And he was shouting to his audience! Oh my goodness. Brian, I said to him the next day when we had a chance to meet in a private session, what were you doing? Did you offend them? Did they upset you in some way? And he looked at me like a deer with the headlights in the eyes frozen, and as though, no one asked me that before. And he started to get teary. And he said, oh my goodness, my father, he never cared. He never showed up. He never listened to me. I've been shouting to all my audiences to have my father hear me ever since. His voice got soft. He reached a new level of humility, tenderness, kindness, caring, and compassion. And he never had to shout again. It was a turning point for him. Now, another way of utilizing this exercise, for those of you that are watching me live, as well as being alive in the online stage, placing your hands together like this. Imagining this being one person, this being another person. And this is you developing in what I call the hero exercise, another one of my tools. Speaking to someone as though you wanted to honor their three qualities that you are honored by. Let's say it's Gandhi. So I'm talking from this hand to this hand. Gandhi, you have these qualities of kindness, of determination, of peacefulness that always moves me, yet I've disowned them for myself. Then placing one hand in back of the other, imagine yourself, then release that other hand, speaking as though your hero, your mentor, your role model were to speak with you, honoring those same qualities that you just acknowledged in them. Oh, you have those qualities too. You are kind, you are determined, you're peaceful in the way that person would stand and move and breathe and speak. That simple exercise, such a powerful, simple exercise also moves people to tears and brings out that feeling of embodying those same qualities that have been projected outside until now, the hero exercise. Now, there's another way of being able to transform our self-talk, to be able to let go of the old patterns that no longer serve us. My mom, for example, this is me getting vulnerable, talking to my mom. Mom, you had such high expectations of me, and I was a great athlete and a great scholar, and yet I always had the belief that I was never good enough. Instead of my mom acknowledging me at this point, this is a different exercise you can practice to anyone that's oppressed you in your life. I take this pain. You can do this with me. I recommend it. One hand in an open chest. I take this pain, this false persona of not being good enough, afraid to be seen, afraid to be heard, to be able to deal with you and all of your criticism and high expectations. And I send it, do this with me, back to the source. I send it back to where it came, moving clockwise like an analog clock, the way they used to go before they decided to go digital. And then heels of the hands up in the air, heels of your feet down into the earth. That's right. And saying these words. I have just sent this past pattern, my attachment to not being good enough, what has oppressed me, what has held me back, somewhere else to play. Today for me is a new day. Go like this. Hip, hip, hooray! My new self-talk is, and then I'll develop my own, another one of my tools, 3 key words for any speaker before you get on stage to get into the zone. I am creative, which I am, playful, yes, and transformational. I encourage speakers before you get on stage to get into the zone in that way, to be able to use those same gestures to make pictures of what you're saying so your telling becomes compelling, welling and swelling. To multi-sensorize it is the next step. I've spent years of my life as a champion springboard diver, hello, gymnast, track star, court jester, improvisational artist, body therapist, many different ways of being physical in the body. And so I've developed these tools to multi-sensorize your communication. So before you even say a word exactly, you're able to inhabit your communication through your body. Watch. I'm going to sing it. I'm creative, I'm playful, I'm transformational. I'm going to whisper it. Softer sounds, louder gestures. Creative, I'm playful, I'm transformational. Imagine yourself, as I was, a court jester, a herald, heralding the good news for all and everyone to hear, with the sound first of a trumpet, everybody. Doodle-doo-doo-doo, doodle-doo-doo-doo. The good news is, when they speak, they are creative, playful, and transformational. By doing this in 12 different ways, I, you, she, we, they, shout, whisper, mouth with no sound, mime with no moving of the mouth, write it down, sing it. By doing it in all these different ways, the new self-talk gets encoded in the muscle memory. You hear me? Yeah. It gets encoded in such an indelible way that then the speaker comes from this resourceful place, speaking from the innermost core as never before. Another example. I was in Baltimore, Maryland, at the Peabody Academy of Music. The Peabody Conservatory of Music, it was called. And I was invited to work in a room, again, a beautiful auditorium like this one. And there were singers, performers that I was there to assist to connect better with the audience. One singer said, I don't like the audience, they don't trust me, and I don't want to be rejected by them. The pianist is all off key, and the drummer is totally out of sync with me. What would happen if you transform your self-talk? Turn it around. And she said, okay. The audience, that's you, is more interested in what I have to share than I'm nervous to share it. The pianist is playing in beautiful harmonies, and the drummer is playing in total sync with me. What happened to her singing? You got the answer, of course. It was powerful, passionate, engaging, just what I'm sharing with you today, in an interactive, full-bodied way. One more example. I was in Hawaii at something called One Dance Tribe, a gathering of many movement specialists from all over the world. And one man who is a 5 rhythms movement dance teacher told me on the break, I forget my lines. Who else forgets your lines from time to time? We all do. When I stood next to him on the stage, I said to him, what is it that's really going on? Let's go down deeper a level. And he started to shake, and he looked at me. Is it okay for me to share this? As though he was saying with his body language. I grew up in New York, so did I, he said, and I was attacked by bullies and gangs throughout my adolescence. So when I'm standing in front of people, I feel like I'm going to be attacked. He was dripping with tears. One audience member after another came up to him and said, you are the kind of person that I want to work with. Your vulnerability, your humanity, your caring, your breakdown and your breakthrough. Rather than just pontificating good instructions to us, you've shown us how we can move through our own fears, our own shame, blame, anger, and pain. It was a beautiful turning point for him in his life. Now let's go on to another dimension of my sharing with you beyond these stories. Here we are on this physical stage. In the Western languaging, in our writing, when we write from left to right. Therefore, you, the audience, are trained to know that when a speaker is standing here, they'll be talking about something that was happening in the past. when I received the headmaster award in my secondary private school for the student with the best combination of athletics and academics, I was shaking like a leaf. In the present, moving into this zone right in front of you, in the prosceniums in Greece and Rome and assembly halls like this and universities, the speaker, the authority, often spoke to audiences this way. Moving to the future, past, present, future. Where are we heading with this? This is a way of describing relationship speaking, redefining, transforming your relationship with your body, your message, your messaging, and your audience. Winston Churchill, of which this college is named after, I realize this is fantastic timing. He was, did you know, stuttering before he became one of the greatest orators of the last century. And he studied and practiced every single movement on stage, so his words, his verbal words, his vocal sounds, his visual delivery all lined up. Became a fantastic speaker. I show people in my own tool something called Walk Your Talk, the grid system, ways of navigating the stage. Past, present, future. What's been holding me back, or our backers have moved us forward. The real secret to this is, what am I doing with my spine and my voice? Slightly dropping it to confide. So all these different zones can be mapped. When you're in a particular place on stage, then you, the audience, know, oh, he's going to talk about the past because he's moving to that place. So you're trained to know what I'm going to say before I even open my mouth. We can do this on the online stage. A lot of my work these days is online. In the four corners of the online stage, we can also inhabit it in such a way as this. In this corner over here. For those of you here that have been wanting to write a book, but you haven't got out of your system, raise your hands. Let's see who you are. Yes, you have the information. Notice what it is, what you're able to say over and over, and it starts to become your book. Just get the ideas out, the repetitive thoughts. One way to apply that. Over here, who here has written a book and would like to be able to say it in a more engagingly way here on stage? Well, for you, one of the key and cool tools is to be able to visceralize, like what we're doing here today, your message. So your thoughts, your words, your action become visible. People can see what you're saying, and that way your message, you don't even have to think about what you're saying. You're choreographing your presentation on the online and the physical stage. You remember it better, the audience remembers the points better, and then is more easily willing and able to act on what you're setting in motion. One more tool to share with you. Go like this with me. This is a shape of a triangle, that's right. And I call this the P formula. P, touch your hands together for point, the points you make. E, the examples that visceralize, that give demonstration, that multi-sensorize your points. And the last apex of the triangle, the other elbow, that's good, everyone. The application. Excellent. When you make a point, when you plan a speech from now on, one of my key messages to you is instead of going point 1, point 2, point 3, to be able to PEA1, PEA2, PEA3. So you already have examples, like I've been giving you examples, stories today of my key points about transforming your message through your self-talk, and then the application for you. Summarizing what we've been sharing so far here today, I've given you a number of different examples, tools I've developed over 50 years that included the double extreme to bring out authenticity, the standing up to those who have oppressed you and sending back the pain to where it came, then creating 3 key words and multi-sensorizing that in the ways that I shared with you so far. Then we went on from there to a few different stories, the Peabody Conservatory, where I was working with the singer and helping her transform her self-talk with the people that she was singing and playing with, the accompaniment. After that, we had another story of the man who was in tears, who was attacked and bullied in New York City, and how he was able to step into his vulnerability as strength. We shared with you the online Walk Your Talk formula, and finally, the P formula. Now, as we complete, I want to finish with one simple exercise with 3 sentences for you to practice with me right now. Everything that you've learned here today, doing this with me, with your words, your sounds, and your gestures. Saying these words after me as though you meant it, with your full body. Sharing my caring is my strength. Feel it. Feel the shift from before, how much more authentic and connected you feel. My vulnerability is my strength. Sharing our common humanity is our developing strength. And this, everyone, is where it all begins.